3 weeks before Christmas, my father called me into the kitchen, set his coffee mug on the counter and told me, not asked, told me, that my brother Ryan's 25 college friends would be spending Christmas week at our house in Dayton, Ohio. He said it the way you'd tell someone to take out the trash. Casual. Final. Non-negotiable. Ryan stood behind him with his arms crossed and a smile he didn't bother hiding. They expected me to plan the menu, buy the groceries, cook every meal, set the table for 27 people twice a day for 5 days, serve every plate, clear every dish, wash everything by hand because the dishwasher had been broken since October and nobody had fixed it, the same way I had. Every single holiday, for 12 straight years. I looked at my father. I looked at my brother. I smiled. And that night, I drove to Columbus, boarded a red-eye, and flew to Maui. But before I tell you what happened when they woke up Christmas morning to an empty kitchen, stay with me. Because this story didn't start 3 weeks ago. It started 12 years ago in that same kitchen, the day my mother left, and I became something this family never gave me a title for. My mother, Carol, walked out of our Dayton house on a Tuesday, in early December 12 years ago. I was 19. Ryan was 15. My father, Glenn, was 51, and completely unprepared to run a household. Carol didn't leave dramatically. She just packed 2 suitcases, said she needed to find herself, and drove to Arizona where her college roommate lived. She called every few weeks for the first year, then every few months. Then, not at all. Glenn sat at the kitchen table the night she left, and looked at me with an expression I'd never seen on him before. Lost raw. Like a man who suddenly realized he had no idea how anything in his own house worked. Lily, I'm going to need your help keeping things running. I was 19. I had a part-time job at a medical billing office, and a spot reserved at Ohio State starting in January. I deferred my enrollment, just for 1 semester. I told myself, just until things stabilize. That semester became a year. That year became 12. I learned to cook real meals, not pasta from a box. I learned how Glenn liked his coffee. 2 sugars, splash of cream, mug warmed first. I learned Ryan's school schedule, his allergies, which of his teachers sent emails versus called. I drove him to baseball practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I packed his lunches until he was 17 and told me it was embarrassing. I became the thing the house needed, and nobody named. Not a wife, not a mother, something without a category, something you don't thank because thanking would mean acknowledging. Glenn went back to his contracting business. Ryan went to Ohio State, the enrollment I deferred. At the school I never got back to. He graduated in May with a business degree and a group of 25 friends, who apparently needed somewhere to celebrate Christmas. I stayed in Dayton. I kept the house. I told myself this was what family does. The conversation in the kitchen happened on a Wednesday evening, December 4th. I remember because I'd just gotten home from a 12-hour shift at the hospital where I now work as an administrative coordinator. I hadn't eaten since noon. Glenn was at the table with his laptop open and a yellow legal pad covered in his handwriting. Logistics. I realized later, he'd already planned it. Ryan's bringing his friends home for Christmas. The whole week. 25 of them, maybe a few more. I set my bag down. Where are they sleeping? We'll figure it out. Air mattresses, the basement, the den. You can clear out the storage room. I looked at Ryan, who was leaning against the refrigerator scrolling his phone. And meals, I said. Glenn looked up. You'll handle it. You always do. Ryan didn't look up from his phone. It'll be fun, Lil. Like a big family Christmas. They weren't asking. There was no would you mind or we were hoping. No offer to hire a caterer, split costs or even help carry groceries. 25 extra people, 5 days, 3 meals a day, and the expectation landed on me the same way it always had. Like gravity, like weather. Like something that simply was. I nodded slowly. Okay. Glenn went back to his legal pad. Ryan went back to his phone. I went upstairs, closed my bedroom door, sat on the edge of my bed, and did something I hadn't done in years. I opened a travel browser. I want to be honest about what happened next because it wasn't impulsive. It wasn't rage. I didn't slam a single cabinet. I sat quietly on that bed, and I thought about 12 years. 12 Christmases where I cooked the meal and Glenn carved the turkey and Ryan invited whoever he wanted, and I washed the dishes after. 12 years where I was the one who called the plumber, renewed the home insurance, remembered to buy Glenn's blood pressure medication when he forgot. 12 years of being essential and invisible in the same breath. I thought about Ohio State, about the dorm room I never moved into, about the roommate I was matched with sophomore year who sent me a friendly email. I never answered because by then, I'd already deferred again, and the whole thing felt too painful to look at directly. I thought about what my friend Dana had said to me at lunch, 6 months ago. "Lily, when is the last time you did something just for you?" I'd laughed it off. I couldn't remember. I opened the browser and typed, "Flights to Maui departing tonight." There was one seat left on a red-eye through Los Angeles, departing Columbus at 11:45 p.m., arriving Kahului the following afternoon. $680 round trip. I stared at the number. I thought about what 12 years of free domestic labor was worth. I bought the ticket. I packed in 40 minutes. One carry, on sundresses, sandals, a book I'd been meaning to read since August, my good sunscreen. I wrote a note, not long, not emotional, and left it on the kitchen counter where Glenn would see it with his morning coffee. "Gone for Christmas. House is yours, Merry Christmas, Lily." I drove to Columbus in the dark. The highways were empty. Christmas lights blinked from the houses I passed, warm and gold behind frosted windows. Families inside, probably people who knew where they belonged. I boarded the red-eye and slept better than I had in months. My phone started at 7:14 a.m. Ohio time, which was still dark in Columbus, and already ocean outside my window somewhere over the Pacific. "Glenn," I let it ring. "Ryan," I let it ring. Glenn again. 12 minutes later. I turned the phone face down and watched the clouds. I landed in Maui at 2:30 in the afternoon. The air hit me first, warm, thick, salt, sweet. I stood at the curb outside baggage claim with my carry on and just breathed for a minute. Then I got in a cab and checked into a small inn in Kihei that Dana had recommended. A room with a lanai facing the water. Plumeria on the nightstand. I had 14 voicemails by dinner. I read the transcripts. I didn't listen. "Glenn, Lily, where are you? Call me back immediately. There are people arriving Friday. Ryan, Lily. This isn't funny, I told everyone about Christmas. You need to come home." Glenn again, voice harder. "This is incredibly selfish. Your brother is counting on you." "I am counting on you, Ryan." Quieter this time. Almost confused, "Lil, seriously. Who's going to cook?" That last one I read 3 times. I put my phone in the nightstand drawer, went out to the lanai, and watched the sun drop into the Pacific. Orange, then pink, then gone. The kind of sunset that feels personal, like it was made for exactly this moment. I ordered room service for the first time in my adult life. Ate it alone on the lanai in the dark. Didn't clean up after myself. It was the best meal I'd ever had. Ryan's friends arrived Friday. 23 of them. It turned out 2 had canceled last minute. Glenn ordered pizza the first night, paper plates. Dana told me later she'd heard from a mutual friend in Dayton that Glenn had tried to reach my neighbor, Mrs. Calloway, to ask if she could help out with some cooking. Mrs. Calloway, who is 74 years old, and has never once been asked to a single Hargrove Christmas dinner, apparently said she didn't know what he was talking about and closed the door. Ryan's friends stayed 5 days. Glenn fed them frozen meals, Chinese takeout, and a Christmas turkey he attempted himself on December 25th. Dana said it was dry. She heard that from 3 separate people. I spent Christmas morning on a kayak off Makina Beach. I'm not a strong kayaker. I wobbled the entire time. I didn't care. I flew home on December 27th. I walked into the house at 9 p.m. carrying my carry on and smelling like sunscreen. Glenn was in the kitchen. The sink was full. The counters were full. The trash hadn't been taken out since I left. He turned when I came in. His face was something I hadn't seen since Carol left. That same expression. Raw, recalibrated. You could have told us, he said. You could have asked me, I said. He looked at the sink. He looked at me.